Many people have been asking me how did I get my podcast up and running that quickly? Well, the secret is Anchor. It's the easiest way to make a podcast. And it's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. It can also help you to distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. And you can make money from a podcast too with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. If you're interested, find out more. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Adrian Tan Show. This is my podcast where I have deep conversations with the people who are enabling organizations to become ready for the future of work. My guests include a mindfulness coach, the folks behind Singapore's most popular investment app, and many more. They all have one thing in common, and that is to help level up your organizations through your people. My guest today is leading Sansan Global marketing team in driving demand generation and awareness in Asia Pacific and beyond. For over 10 years, he has been helping companies compete at the forefront of the digital transformation landscape and is a firm proponent of uplifting companies in deploying the right marketing strategies and technology to achieve their business objectives. Please welcome Marcus Aw Yong. Marcus, thank you so much for coming onto the show. So for people who are not familiar with what Sansan does, so could you help to shed some light on it? What do you do and who do you target?
Thank you so much for having me on the show, Adrian. My pleasure. So, Sansan is a publicly traded company listed on the Tokyo Stock Exchange. So, it was founded in 2007, and since then, it has both been enhancing and disrupting the content management industry amid Japan's traditional business culture. So, beyond Japan, of course, there's a whole world of possibilities out there. So, Sansan Global Private Limited is Sansan's registered global base in Singapore, and our founder, Chika Terada, was originally a Japanese salaryman who saw the challenges of finding key contacts. So often he actually found someone in the company whom already had a connection with his target prospect. But human network gaps led to redundant efforts and missed opportunities. So he founded Sansan to fix this. And now, as we approach 2020 or even like 21, Sansan has become a trailblazer in business networking SaaS solutions. So it created and dominated the business card contact market in Japan. And from the Sansan Global office, Sansan works to bring unique solutions adjusted to other parts of Asia and the world. So Sansan is committed to applying futuristic, AI-driven, environmentally conscious solutions in our changing world. So with our newest virtual cards, online contacts, and more features on the way, Sansan encourages digital transformation and find new ways of working. And the world is starting to notice Sansan and our 6,000 plus corporate clients worldwide.
So essentially, Sansan easier for people to manage the tons of physical name cards that we collect from a day-to-day basis, regardless of the business function that you have. I personally have used the app before and I find it quite intuitive. And of course, it helped me to better understand who I'm speaking with when the opportunity arises. Now, personally for yourself, what motivated you to join this line of business?
So for me, ever since, just a bit of a background story, ever since I picked up my first toy and my first video game in my childhood, I've always been fascinated by how tech-centric things work. And I'm always amazed by the joy and benefits that they bring. So being interested in tech since young, I've always tried to chart my educational and professional path along this line. And I think in my career, I've been very fortunate to be a part of tech companies that help organizations streamline the way they do business, especially in this new way of work today. And evidently, this has become especially important amidst this pandemic that has rocked the world this year. So I think that all around us, tech influences everything we do today to a great extent. And it's the future and will drive how the world will be like in 20, 50, even 100 years and beyond. So if you look at it all around us, tech influences everything we do today to a great extent. And it's the future and will drive how the world will be like in 20, 50, even 100 years and beyond. If we look at the most valuable companies in the world today, over the past decade, a lot of them are tech companies who have really revolutionized and changed the world we live, work, and play. And they create new markets and mark great revolutions in productivity, and significantly contribute in terms of generating societal and economic value. At Sansan, I believe I have the great opportunity to be a part of this exciting company, which actually makes managing contacts more efficient, better, and also shout out loud to the rest of the world that, hey, we can definitely do a much better job of managing the very basis of what we do in our daily lives, both professionally and also personally, which is our connections with one another.
So, in the general sense of things, who would Sansan be competing with specifically?
I would say Sansan, our direct competitors, if you were to look at it this way, there isn't a competitor out there who are directly competing with us because we have both ends of the spectrum. One end would be the very basic scanning apps. So what they do is they just scan your name card, and then beyond that, that's it. How you use the digitized information is up to you. You can actually either manage it in Excel sheets or import it within like Salesforce, things like that. And on the other hand of the spectrum, you have the full CRM suite like Salesforce. So we are somehow straddling in between this spectrum where we actually digitize business cards and contacts with a great degree of accuracy, up to 99.9% accuracy. And then on the back end, that's where the true value actually lies, which is actually managing all these contacts and allowing employees to actually see, who knows who within their organization and how they can potentially tap on these mutual connections to reach out to, prospects, opportunities, and partnerships with a greater degree of insights, which are based on past touch points. So increasing the likelihood of closing a deal or securing a partnership, or even like cost cutting measures such as looking at vendors whom employees in the company have actually gotten in touch before. Yeah.
So, to put it another way, that you and I are in the same business, or same company, because of the name cards that you have digitized, as well as the name cards that I have, and you want to find someone with that might be a common contact. So you will be able to tell that because I have scanned his name card into Sansan. So that is how it would work. And I just want to draw back to what you mentioned earlier on about how the pandemic has affected things. Has the pandemic specifically affected your business and your target audience?
Definitely. I mean, it affects everybody basically. So everyone, I think, have by now known that this pandemic will actually lead to the worst recession since the Great Depression, as the International Monetary Fund has projected in the recent World Economic Outlook. So I think with a calamity like this, it has perhaps influenced everybody to never take things for granted, like the old ways of doing business, the face-to-face interactions, and also spotlighted the importance of always being ready for disruption and preparing for things like that in the future. So movement restrictions such as like overseas travel, they are all but eliminated, and also the remote working culture have really led to a boom in digital businesses. So you see platforms such as Zoom, digital payments, e-commerce, logistics, telehealth, and short form content platforms like TikTok, like seeing a spike in adoption, opening lucrative doors for tech startups from such sectors. And I think for the enterprise sector in particular, we're seeing a huge challenge because many businesses are using this time to innovate and really stay, or at least try to stay relevant to the market developments. So for us, like most other companies, a lot of purchasing decisions have been put on hold on our prospects side of things, as companies I think now go into cost cutting measures, or they make use of this time to research for ways to minimize productivity loss. So currently, our main challenge is actually educating them about the benefits of Sansan and why Sansan is even more helpful and valuable in this current situation, in actually helping them to look inwards at their existing database, their existing leads, and drive business opportunities from there, rather than
I would imagine it would be much more critical, especially for traditional salespeople that has always been using means of physical meetup, events to try to advance the sales cycle. Looking at digital platform like Sansan could be a way for them to optimize whatever they have. And given the kind of restriction that is in place right now, and earlier on, you also mentioned about the salespeople who would be key users of your product. and with Sansan, it would help them to advance their journey through the sales funnel in a quicker way. Would it only be relevant for salespeople? Would there be other functional group that might find Sansan a product that they would find useful as well?
Definitely. So beyond salespeople whom currently benefit the most from out of using Sansan, other functions in the organization definitely will benefit as well, such as marketing departments. Because I think in this, during this time, departments need to collaborate with one another more than before. So, for example, marketing and sales will need to actually collaborate and find certain, I would say, industry specific campaigns to reach out to their prospects. So by doing it in such a way, marketing can actually leverage on the database and use the leads and the insights, the past insights of like who knows who and what are the past interactions to develop very personalized campaigns, nurture campaigns to actually reach out to the company's existing database of leads. So besides marketing, other departments such as maybe procurement, they are now definitely looking at ways to cut costs, maybe purchase, explore other options beyond their usual sources in terms of suppliers, vendors, things like that. So they can potentially look at within their colleagues' database, maybe there is another supplier who can meet their needs at a much lower cost. So this in turn benefits a company in terms of the cost savings measures. So these are just some examples of how other departments can actually make use of Sansan and not just sales people.
So it really helped to leverage on the power of who you know in trying to drive a better outcome for your organization, which is really a good thing to have, especially in today's context. Now, for many platforms that I have spoken with, I have always seen certain interesting edge use cases of the product. Have you seen any interesting edge use cases of Sansan since you have started with them?
Yes, definitely. So one of our customers is SuperSteam. So SuperSteam is actually a Singapore-based cleaning company. So you can imagine that during this pandemic, their cleaning and sanitizing services are in very much high demand. So with this high demand, they actually were in need of a solution that actually helps them manage their contacts better. Because like every other day they are receiving new requests, new contacts to actually get in touch with them for their services. So before Sansan, they really needed to look for business from existing contacts. So for example, even before this COVID situation, there was a need from their end to actually look for new business. So I think after implementing Sansan, what we found out from them is that they are really able to visualize all their connections in a very direct manner, very easy to understand manner, and work on hidden opportunities from within as well. And I think for them, collaboration within their internal teams are also very important for better sales effectiveness. So previously they used to work very in silos. So each department worked on their own objectives, and there wasn't a system for them to easily share accurate real-time information on contacts, let alone collaborate effectively through digital means. So after Sansan, they are able to maximize their sales effectiveness through stronger team collaboration. So they're able to share like most up-to-date real-time contact data with one another. So their salespeople are, of course, able to use this information to be able to reach out to their sales prospects more effectively. And also through Sansan's features such as their tags, notes, and reports for individual contacts. They are now able to craft very detailed contact profiles, very detailed customer profiles with rich insights, and allow their salespeople to engage more proactively with their prospects and personalize their sales approaches.
So Sansan not only brought departments together, but have also accelerated the outcome that you're trying to achieve. I think that would be a really good win-win situation for companies looking into accelerating how they are trying to close certain businesses and trying to hit certain achievements within their organization or within their department. Now, I'd like to touch on a bit about your personal achievement within the company. You have joined the company for quite some time. What is the proudest achievement you have during this period of time?
So I think in my career as a marketing professional, I have done both digital and I would say field marketing. So I think in Sansan, I think the proudest achievement for me was not one particular campaign, but rather just how I actually adapted, my expertise and actually my skill set to really roll out fully integrated digital campaigns, from all platforms such as running webinars, running very, very relevant ad campaigns to the market, and also just coming from a thought leadership perspective, because people, or rather not people, but business entities at this time, they are not really looking at purchasing. They are actually looking at using this time to actually learn more about what's relevant to them, what information they can get out of it, this situation. And so coming from a more content marketing perspective and establishing Sansan as a thought leader. So I think my proudest achievement ever since I joined Sansan was really going full on digital, where previously it was a combination of both digital and field marketing, whereas now it's really the adaptation of actually going full digital. So I think that's something that I was pretty proud of. Yeah.
And when you mentioned about full digital, so prior to, is this something that you have done when before pandemic or only after pandemic happened?
Correct. So this is something that was accelerated by the pandemic, because previously, before the pandemic, maybe back in January, when things were still, seemingly under control and the situation wasn't as bad as we expected, we went with a strategy of course, having events, having roundtable sessions, physical interactions with our target market. But I think after this pandemic, it really accelerated our focus on the digital side of things. So I think with the government actually announcing their plans to slowly start opening like MICE events, I think that will only add to our arsenal of our marketing campaigns.
Given what pandemic is doing to affect many businesses, I can understand a lot of companies are struggling to not just achieve their outcome, but also to even sustain what they are able to bring in. And given your role as a marketeer within a sales enablement company, are there any tips or advice you could give to people, especially those who may be struggling to adapt digitally beyond just looking into Sansan? Any specific areas, any takeaways, any hacks they should try to experiment with so that they could just nudge themselves forward?
I think the key thing is really taking stock of the current situation, like what the current resources that both the individual has and also as an organization. For example, the connections is just one aspect. So what can the salespeople actually do to improve themselves and how they can adapt to selling online? So maybe they are very proficient in actually reaching out to their prospects through physical interactions. Now is the time there where they can't really do that. They have to actually, interact over Zoom. So I think things like the body language over, a Zoom meeting and how they present themselves over the Zoom meeting, like, because although everybody's time is basically they have a lot of time savings because they don't need to travel to physical meetings. But I think because of this, there are more meetings that people are actually having over Zoom, and I think with so many meetings, it's easy to get fatigue, Zoom fatigue. So there must be a way for the salespeople to actually stand out amongst the digital crowd. Like everybody is doing Zoom meetings, but so how are you different from the next person or the person before you? How can you basically stand out? And I think one such tool that they can use is maybe explore using virtual cards. So Sansan has a tool, our new feature, which is Sansan Virtual Card, where they can actually exchange cards virtually over Zoom. You can basically scan the QR code and people can receive your virtual card, and they can also send like their own virtual card if they have one over to you. So I think all this really adds up to helping you stand out amongst the competition online and just making you a more, I would say, memorable contact. And of course, the rest is really up to them how they actually develop the selling strategy, the messaging, and whether it is relevant to the prospect.
I'm aware that Sansan actually has two main products. One would be Sansan, which we have discussed earlier on, and the other one is called Eight. Could you elaborate a bit more about Eight? What exactly is it, and how different is it from Sansan?
Okay, so Sansan is the B2B business contact management solution of Sansan. So if you notice, Sansan as a company is called Sansan, and the B2B solution is also called Sansan. So that remains the focus for the company. So 8 is actually a B2C approach. So basically the same idea, just 8 is for B2C, while Sansan is for B2B. And for example, 8 allows people to connect, basically, over any circumstances, because this is the B2C concept. And one key differentiator is that companies can actually advertise their services and their products on the 8 platform, because it's a very B2C kind of environment. So the way people actually use the app is also slightly different. So they will see certain advertisements that may be relevant to their business, like things like that. So that's just one of the differences. But other than that, the main differentiator is actually the nature of the industries, the B2B and the B2C differentiator.
Right. So for Sansan, what is next on the roadmap?
Okay. So the Singapore government continues to encourage digitization of businesses, especially due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And definitely, because we are a SaaS solution, so definitely we support this digitization drive 100%. So the arrival of the remote working era has really brought about a change in work styles and the business etiquettes in Singapore and also the region. So due to this new norm or the new way of work, we are shifting gears and taking business card exchange online, just like I mentioned earlier. So our motive is actually to help our business customers adapt to this change. So the virtual cards is one milestone moment in Sansan's journey, and also a massive effort by Sansan's innovation and customer excellence teams over the last few months has really led to a worldwide launch of this new function. So ever since we actually launched this function, it currently now over 3,500 customers have really used it to integrate with their virtual meetings like Microsoft Teams, Zoom, and business executives can exchange virtual cards as they meet remotely. So overall, this will actually help companies be more productive, since they will now be able to better visualize their entire business networks on a cloud platform, irrespective of whether the meetings are online or face-to-face. But beyond the Sansan virtual cards, there are some plans as well to really revolutionize our service. But as of now, the plans are still being firmed up, and we will have more details, in the coming months ahead.
Well, given that you have virtual cards as well as the physical card aspect of the platform, I think it might be quite interesting to note that whether it is pandemic or non-pandemic, your business should be doing relatively well. On that note, are you currently hiring?
Definitely, we are currently expanding our global team, and we do have some positions lined up in the near future. But details are still being firmed up with our headquarters. So we just advise everybody to keep a lookout on the My Career job pages and also on our website as well. But
I'll put the link in the show notes for people who is interested to take a look. So finally, to just help everyone understand, if they're keen to learn more about Sansan or even 8, where can they go to?
They can simply go to sansan.com, which is our website. So it's very easy to understand, right? Sansan.com. And so just go to there. And the site, besides having a comprehensive information overview about our company and solutions, there's also a wealth of thought leadership content and very relevant assets in our resource library. So this library contains our ebooks, white papers, our webinar recordings, and very relevant blog articles that people can actually read up on generally networking, AI, CRM-centric content. So, and also to get in touch with us for no obligations consultation session, just simply fill up our contact us form or download a brochure on our website, and we will connect with you in no time at all. And you can also find us on our social media networks such as LinkedIn and Facebook. So one good thing about having a very simple company name is just simply search for Sansan Global and you can find us.
Thank you so much, Marcus. Thank you for the amazing conversation. And I will be adding all these things to show notes so you can find out more. And lastly, again, thank you so much for your time. And I hope you have enjoyed the conversation as much as I have.
Thank you so much, Adrian, for having me on the show. I really enjoyed my time. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the podcast. You can refer to the show notes for links to more information about our guests and their businesses. If you enjoyed this podcast, it would be helpful to give a review on iTunes or follow me on Spotify. If you're using Overcast, please hit the star button under the episode. That will help get this podcast and the episodes out to more people who may find it useful. I will see you in the next episode of The Adrian Tan Show.